A key concept when developing an API is that of content negotiation. This is the process of selecting the best representation for a given response when there are multiple representations available. If you want, you can have a look at Microsoft's documentation. You can find the pages that cover content negotiation via the link on screen. But to be able to follow along with this course, you don't need to do that. When you're building an API that only one client application can consume, you might be okay with always getting back your representations in JSON format. But if you're building an API for consumption by multiple clients, some of which you have no control over, chances are that not all of these clients can easily consume JSON representations as a response. Some might be better off with XML or another format. The consumer can request a specific format by passing the requested media type through as value for the accept header. For example, if that accept header has a value of application JSON, the consumer states that if the API supports application JSON, it should return a JSON representation. If the accept header has a value of application XML, it should try and return an XML representation, and so on. If no accept header is available or if it doesn't support the requested format, it can always default to its default format. In most cases today, that's JSON. So we're dealing with output here. ASP.NET Core supports this via output formatters. The consumer of the API can request a specific type of output by setting the accept header to the requested media type, like application JSON, as we just learned. But if there's output, there's also input. We're running a bit ahead of ourselves with that. We don't provide input in a request body yet, but that's exactly what we'll do once we start creating and updating resources in the next module, coming up after the next two demos. So this does seem like a good place to mention this already, because next to output formatters, ASP.NET Core also supports input formatters. An input formatter deals with input. For example, the body of a post request to create a new resource. For input, the media type of the request body is identified through the content type header. This isn't content negotiation anymore, but it does use formatters and media types. Technically, support for content negotiation from our actions is implemented by object result and built into the status code specific action results returned from the helper methods, like the OK and not found methods we've been using. These action result helper methods are based on object result and thus support content negotiation. Were we to only return a model class, this is automatically wrapped in an object result, so that too supports content negotiation. We don't have to do anything extra for that. All we need to do to ensure that these object result deriving results support the format we want is to add or configure the correct formatter. Let's do that in the next demo.